Hi everyone, good afternoon. Welcome to the UCD International pre-departure YouTube Live. Thank you everybody for joining us today. Firstly, we're going to start by just introducing myself and the panel who are here to answer any questions you have about UCD Ireland and Dublin. My name is Lorraine Woods. I am the UCD South Asia Manager. Ashley, maybe
Hi everyone, my name is Ashton Tiernan. I'm the Middle East Regional Manager.
Hi everybody, I'm Carl Lusby. I'm the International Student Advisor.
Hello, my name is Sarah McAvoy. I'm International Student Support Assistant and I work at the reception at UCD International.
Perfect. So please send us in all of your questions. I know we've received a few questions already, which we're going to maybe talk a little bit about. But we might just start with a few kind of bits of information, just overviews. We might talk a little bit about what you should be doing at the minute if you're in the process of coming to UCD, and maybe any kind of checklist items that you should be kind of gathering together at the minute. Probably one of the first things that you should be doing now is kind of trying to consider, if you haven't applied for your visa, you should be applying for your visa if you're from a visa required country. I'm sure we'll be speaking a little bit about that with Carl in a little while, but that would be one of kind of the key things to be looking at. You should also be joining our social media channel. So we have a UCD International Student Facebook group. That would be quite important if you want to connect with other students that are coming to the university. And then also you should be thinking about accommodation options, and whether you're living on campus or off campus, just trying to gather a little bit more information. We will have information throughout the session about these things, but just kind of as an overview, they're the things that we probably will be talking about today and what you should be considering if you haven't already kind of thought about them already. But we might just dip into some questions. We have a few questions about on-campus accommodation. So Raphael has asked, for the on-campus accommodation, what sort of documents do I need to be accepted as proof of payment on arrival at the on-campus accommodation? Maybe Sarah, you would speak a little bit about students, if they're coming to live on campus, what the procedures are for them.
Yeah, absolutely. So you arrive at the Mirabel reception first of all, so that's where everybody will check in. On the Belfield campus, and at Proby if you're going to Smurfit. Your proof of payment will all be shown against your personal account. You'll have your passport with you as you just come from the airport, so that's all you need. The team there will check you in. They'll give you your student card, which will also be your key card for your dorm, and you're good to go.
Perfect. We might just also touch a little bit about students who are, with a question from a student who has paid her fees through a loan system, a North American loan system. So Mary is asking, in regards to checking into on-campus accommodation, my fees are going to be paid through North American loans. Will I be able to check in?
Hi Mary, thanks for your question. So when you filled out your application for your funding, there would have been a box to tick asking if you wanted your loan money to go directly towards your accommodation. So if you tick yes, then you don't need to worry about it. You just need to show up on the day along with your ID, and everything will be fine. If you're not sure whether you've ticked yes or not, or you can't remember, just get in contact with us and we can certainly check that out for you and let you know. No problem.
Yeah, perfect. Maybe just in relation to, there's a couple of questions in relation to the UCD Connect email account. Some students are asking, when will I be able to log in? We might just very kind of briefly just explain the process in terms of registration and getting the UCD email. So at the minute, students will be receiving emails through their personal email, but you will be getting your UCD email account set up quite shortly. Ashley, maybe you just talk what students can expect to receive in the next few weeks.
Yeah, so at the moment everything's coming to your personal email address that you used when you were making your application. Over the next couple of weeks, all of your registration modules are going to become available. Those dates are on the website, and you're going to get an email that tells you when you can start using your UCD email address.
Yeah, perfect. So kind of the key message is to keep an eye on your emails for the next few weeks. Everything will be sent to you through your email. If you think you're not getting emails or you think you're not getting the information, please contact us or contact your school or program directly. They'll be able to help you as well. But everything will be sent through your emails in the next few weeks. So you'll receive information in terms of registration, in terms of orientation, in terms of kind of timetables and all of those kind of things as well. So it is important that you keep an eye on your email and read every email that's sent to you. That's the most kind of important thing that you do, because it'll all be explained to you. The full registration process will be explained to you through emails as well. But we might talk a little bit about orientation and what students can expect when they even arrive in Ireland. So maybe if somebody would like to speak about the airport welcome that we will have for students and the dates around that as well, as students are arriving in September.
Yeah, sure. I'll explain a little. There's lots going on during orientation, so I've taken down a few notes so that I don't miss anything. So the airport welcome will be on Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. So Saturday is the 3rd, I think, 4th and 5th, I believe, of September. So our global guides will meet you at the airport when you arrive, and they will direct you to the air coach and send you on your way. The air coach can take you directly to UCD. There's going to be lots of great things happen during orientation. We do recommend that you take part in as much as you can. It's a great way to meet people. It's before all the stress of studying starts, and it's just a good way to get to know your way around UCD and Dublin as well. We're going to have walking tours of Dublin throughout the week, shopping tours, there will be library tours, there'll be a trip to IKEA, so that you can get any of the soft furnishings, anything like that you might need for your accommodation. On the Saturday the 9th, there will be day tours. So there's going to be a day tour to Dublin, I think it's taken in the Guinness factory. There will be one to Meath, which is going to Trim Castle. So for any fans of Braveheart, I don't know if you know the movie, that's where that was filmed. That's close to my own hometown, so I recommend that you check that one out. And you'll be able to sign up for all those trips in the Global Lounge throughout the week, along with our UCD Global Guides, who are students that work with us here at the Global Lounge. On Wednesday the 6th in the evening time, we'll have the UCD President's Welcome, the official President's Welcome with Professor Deeks, and that'll be a great evening. There'll be lots of prestigious UCD people there, and you'll get a chance to also meet other students and just learn a little bit about UCD itself and about the kind of people that are involved in running it. And on Thursday the 21st, which is a couple of weeks later, we'll have a welcome reception for all international students, where everybody will be welcomed down to the Global Lounge. We'll have refreshments and just a little bit of getting to know each other and the staff here. So that's the kind of things that you can expect during orientation time.
Yeah, and actually a question just come in straight away from Sloan, who's saying, is orientation week specific to our programs? Sounds like a fun time. It is a fun time. It's a busy time, but it's a fun time. So yes and no, there will be, this is a kind of a general international student orientation that Sarah's talking about. There will be specific ones that you'll hear about as well.
Absolutely. The UCD International orientation is really designed so that you get to know your way around UCD, how UCD operates, and also to get to know your way around Dublin a bit. But most importantly, it's about meeting people, meeting other international students and Irish students as well. Your programme office may also be running individual academic orientations, which you will hear about directly from your programme office if it applies to you.
There's also, if you're coming to an undergraduate programme, you're going to have a peer mentor, because across your programs, the student advisors, there are student advisors in all the different programs across campus, and they organise peer mentors. So usually a peer mentor will have maybe 8 or 10 students that they'll look out for throughout the year, and they're very much around the place for that orientation week. You're getting to know them. They'll bring you around places as well and show you about settling in. So there's a lot of stuff going on between our international office and between the programme offices as well. There's lots of activities for you to take part in.
Yeah, and maybe we'll talk a little bit about it as well. Just after orientation week, we have a lot of the clubs and societies will be looking for new members, and that will all take place during Freshers Week, what we call Freshers Week in UCD. So I don't know, would somebody maybe talk a little about
Freshers, the first week anyway, you have orientation week, and then you go in and you start your classes the following week, I think the 11th. And the following week then, the 18th, is what's called Freshers Week. And we have a beautiful student centre that all the students kind of hang out in, and that we have sports facilities and all sorts of wonderful facilities up there. But next to it, they put up a huge marquee, and all the clubs and societies advertise up there. Now, for any of you who don't know what a university society is, for example, there's an international student society, there's a geography society. some of the societies are linked to the particular subjects or modules that you might be doing, and others are linked to particular groups of students. So you'll also have an African society and an Indian society. And what they do is they organise lots of, again, fun things, I suppose, during the year. The International Student Society and the Erasmus Student Network, for example, organise loads of trips down the country where you can go off with a group of friends from all countries, and including Irish students as well, because this year, like, the auditor of the International Student Society is Irish, as was same last year too. And you can go off, have a good time, and it costs all of €2 to join one of these societies, you know, so it's a great way to get to know people from different countries and people from different programs as well. And if you're sporty, you go for the clubs. There's all sorts of sport available. And again, it gives you a great opportunity maybe to take up a new sport and to also meet people from right across the campus through the sporting. It's just great.
Yeah, I probably should just explain a little bit more. Tina is asking a question saying, what's the difference between Freshers Week and Orientation Week? So there are 2 different weeks in the year. So Orientation Week is your first arrival onto campus, and it's where you will be given all the initial information. All of the events will take place, the Orientation Week events, and then Freshers Week is usually 2 weeks, 2 weeks afterwards, and that's when you join the clubs and societies. So you'll be a little bit more settled, you'll be starting your classes, and that's when you have the opportunity. So that's the difference between them, and they're 2 different kind of types of activity that will take place during the 2 weeks. And there's a couple of questions coming in about financial aid and loans, and what I would say, if anyone is having any difficulties or questions about financial aid or their loans, if you email us at international@ucd.ie, we will pass it on to the relevant individual. So we obviously it's specific to each individual, but just please email us if you're having difficulty getting in contact with anybody. That's no problem at all.
I can just say, add to that, Irene, I know a lot of students have been querying their loans and different things on our social media, on our Facebook group, should I say, sorry. And I have recommended to everybody just to contact us individually in private, because, you know, some of the information is confidential and very specific to you. So get in contact with us, international@ucd.ie, and we'll absolutely get back to you.
Yeah, and obviously this is very much a high volume time during the year, and so there is a lot of students asking questions. So please just be a little bit patient with the university. We will get back to you, absolutely. So just don't worry if there is a slight delay, but we will get back to everyone. There's a question in from Kay Limon. He is asking, how do I get from Dublin Airport to UCD? Good question.
Well, you have to take some sort of transport because it'd be too far to walk. As already has been said, there will be some UCD people at the airport to guide you. But if you're coming in a time later in the evening, for example, we usually recommend that you get a taxi. But the air coach comes right outside the Belfield campus. And on occasions, it comes in onto the campus. If there's a good few students for UCD, they'll come in. There's also an air coach that goes down by the Blackrock campus as well. So that's probably the handiest way of transferring over from the airport over to UCD. And it takes, I suppose, on the air coach, it could take around 45 minutes to an hour for it to get across to the other, because we're really on the other side of the city. So it does depend on the traffic as well, but that would be the normal way to go.
Yeah, perfect. Nadira is asking, is the 3rd of September a good time to arrive on campus? So maybe we actually had another question from another student saying, if they arrive early, you know, can they drop in? Is it fine to come to the university if it's just before orientation week? So yes, is the answer to that. But yeah, it depends on if you want to arrive
from Thursday the 31st, that's the first day that you can move in if you're living on campus, and from that day onwards, that's when our activities will start. So there will be meet and greet in the lounge every day from that day onwards over the weekend. So no matter when you arrive at that time, even if you come a Sunday evening, Saturday afternoon, there will be somebody here, there will be somebody to say hello to you, and there will be other students. There will be tea, coffee, sandwiches, all those kinds of things. So absolutely call in. I think Nadir mentioned the 3rd. 3rd is a good day. The airport welcome is running on the 3rd. But whenever you arrive, absolutely come and see us. And if you have any questions, anything like that, we'll be here.
Yeah, perfect. And look, the university is open right through the summer. The staff are here. The International is open. Office is open Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. If you do arrive early and want to drop in and say hello, that's no problem at all. We'll be here as well. There's a couple of questions around bank accounts and opening bank accounts. So Ivani has asked a question. Raphael has asked a question as well. What are the documents? What counts as proof of address? And yeah, what are the formalities around opening a bank account in Ireland?
Yeah, I will just say it's important to remember that, first of all, what you need to open a bank account is your passport and your certificate of attendance at UCD. You won't be able to get your certificate of attendance until you've registered, so bear that in mind. So bring enough money with you. We don't advise that you bring too much cash with you, but do just have enough to get you through perhaps the first week or 2 weeks, would you say, Carol? Once you've registered, you can input your address onto SysWeb, and then you can print your official certificate of attendance, which is perfect for use for opening a bank account. You can also use it later for immigration purposes if you're registering with the GNIB for a key for your residence permit. But it is important to remember that you won't be able to do this until you've registered. So bear that in mind.
And also that you've arrived in Ireland. Sometimes people ask if you can open the bank account from home, but you can't. And the other thing is, when you are putting in, you need to have your Irish address in on that certificate of attendance. So if you're unsure of how the address looks, you maybe ask people in the residences to tell you. In fact, I think the information coming from the residents on campus does explain to you how you should put your address down.
Yeah, it does.
But if you're not on campus, you could ask maybe your landlord or someone else living in the house to explain to you exactly how you put in the address so that you get it properly done. Because the bank sends out to you your ATM, for your ATM, they send out your PIN number in one envelope, and they send the card in another envelope for security reasons. So you can expect to get those two in the post. You need to make sure that your address is correct.
And again, we'll explain all of this during orientation week when you arrive. We have kind of documents on what you need, and we'll show you where the bank is on campus as well. So you don't need to necessarily worry about it until you're here. We can go through it all again, so you don't need to remember everything that we're chatting about today. There's a question from a student about cycling. Do I need special permission to park my bicycle in UCD? Ashley, would you like to talk about this?
Yeah, as possibly the team's newest cyclist, I'm just learning how to cycle around campus and around Dublin myself at the moment, but we have a bike shop here on campus, so you can go down when you arrive, and they always have a range of second-hand bikes or new bikes, and they also do a deal where they'll buy back your bike when you're leaving as well, so that's quite handy. But you definitely don't need any special permits to cycle or to park your bike on campus. We do recommend though that you get a really good lock, and that's important for when you're parking on campus, but also if you're going into town. Yeah, it's important that you have a lock that's going to keep your bike safe.
And there's also the designated spaces for bikes. So don't park it on a tree. Don't tie it around a tree, okay? Because they don't like
not be
that.
there when you come back.
Yeah, they wouldn't like that at all.
There are lots of spaces, though.
There's lots of spaces
For parking specifically. So.
And there's a lot of places where you can't park your bike, but there are signs up to say that we don't want you blocking access. Or anything like that, but it's really clear, I think.
And also, it's very important that you wear a helmet.
That's true.
Don't forget that.
Hugely, yeah.
Absolutely. Akash is asking or saying, good afternoon, I'll be arriving in Dublin from India. I wanted to know which documents I should carry with me through immigration. Another very good question. So maybe, Carol, would you talk a little about what students can expect when they arrive in Dublin Airport, the different queues, immigration, what they'll need to have with them just on arrival?
Okay, so what happens in a case you would have been a visa required student. So as you know, you'll have on your passport your entry visa, and this permits you to come into Ireland. But once you arrive in the airport, that visa then has done its job, if you like, and you move on to the immigration official, who will take a look at your passport as you're going through. And you should also have your offer letter. It would be important to have that in your hand luggage. Don't have it in some bag that you can't get it out immediately, because they want you to move through fast. They'll take details. They may ask you where you're going, what course you're going to, etc., and you just give them all those details. And there should be no difficulty. For the most part, they'll usually welcome you into the country and you'll move on forward. What they will do is that they will stamp your passport, and it's a green stamp on your passport. And this replaces, if you like, the entry visa. And they stamp, they usually put something like 90 days, or they put the date from the day you've landed and 90 days forward. And what that means is that you then have to get what's called a residence permit within that period of time. And a lot of you will have been sent, we've written to a lot of students already, telling them that they should book their appointments for their residence permit. And I'll talk about that now in a second.
We've few questions about that, but even Lucy has just even going from arrival in Dublin Airport to getting here. Lucy is saying, which entrance is closer to Merville to check in? Which air coach should we take? I'll be arriving before orientation on the 31st.
Well,
things there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, first of all, the air coaches are pulled up next to one another, so you can ask, are you the one going to Belfield? Mm-hmm. And it's €7, I think, isn't it, for the?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. And
there is actually if you pre-book your ticket online, which we advise people to do, there is a discount, and the discount code you'll see on our webpage, UCD.I/international. You'll find the information.
It's something like €1, is it, of a discount or something like that? Yeah. So the air coach then will come. What was the second part of that question?
That should be arriving before the 31st, and which entrance, so how to get from where the air coach drops to actually get into Merville.
So if the air coach comes in on campus, it will drop you just around the corner from the Merville residences. If it doesn't, it will drop you just across the road from what's called the Stillorgan Gate. Mm-hmm. And you have to walk across. It's a bridge in just about 5 minutes, I suppose, from the stop, across a bridge and into the Stillorgan Gate. And you just walk up the road on your left-hand side, and you come up to the Merville student residences. Lots of signs on the campus as well, and even more signs around orientation week.
Yeah, and you know, if you're not sure, if you get lost, just stop and ask somebody for help. Yeah. People will be more than happy to point you in the right direction.
Yeah. What date is on-campus accommodation open for students?
31st.
So 31st is the
first day for check-in.
If you're living on campus and you arrive in Ireland before the 31st, you'll have to arrange a hotel or a hostel. Mm-hmm. You won't be able to check in to the on-campus accommodation before the 31st if anyone is planning on arriving before then. So that's maybe just something to kind of bear in mind as well. There's quite a specific question, Carla. I don't know if you'll be able to answer it now, but a student is saying, if, in your opinion, is it okay visa-wise if I showed one program to apply for the Irish visa, but change my program and have an invitation letter for another program upon arrival? So what is
might be worth sending an email.
It might have to investigate.
It sounds a little bit complicated now, because
so maybe if you could just send us an email directly, and we'll have a chat with you about that.
Yeah, exactly. They'd normally be expecting that if you're coming in on one program, had a visa for one program, that was the one you were going to be doing. But anyway, you can send an email if you want to me. It's carl.lusby@ucd.ie, and it's up on our website.
Or just international.
We'll pass it on. No problem.
Avani is asking, I have my GNIB appointment before the 29th of September. I have been allocated on-campus accommodation. Will I be able to get my certificate of registration, address proof, and bank account details before the 29th of September?
Yes, I would say.
Yeah, all your registration and everything will be well done. Well done.
So in fact, your registration will be finished before you'll be getting emails about this in the next 2 weeks, and it'll all be detailed there. But that will all be taken care of.
Yeah, and just in
Right.
relation to the bank, go in the orientation week to the bank. It really is just, it's about 2 minutes from where we're sitting now, and get yourself registered, because it can take a bit more than a week for those cards to come out. And when you're going in to register in immigration, you'll need to have your ATM card, as we call it, in order to pay your €300. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Rahul is asking a question. What is the best way to get to a hostel in the city centre from the airport? I will be reaching Dublin around 8:30 p.m.
Okay, well, I think you could get the air coach.
Yeah, again,
Yeah.
the air coach goes right through the city centre. It'll be before you get out as far as UCD, because the airport is on the north side of the city and we're in the south. So yeah, just when you get onto the air coach, the drivers are very helpful, because they're used to having people on that aren't entirely sure, you know, where they're to go or what stop to get
he's
off.
going to the city centre.
Yeah,
so
and it goes,
that's
there's
fine.
various stops throughout the city centre. So if you have an idea of, you know, the name of your hostel and the location, the driver will be able to tell you which stop you need to get out of.
If you don't want to carry your bags, or don't, you can get a taxi as well. There'll be lots of taxis at Dublin Airport if you don't want to do that. So that's another option too. Neha is saying, is it safe to travel alone from the airport at 9:30 or 10 p.m? Are there buses available to the city centre?
There are, and it is. I think it is safe. There's also, aside from the air coach, there's Dublin Bus, are our main bus providers, and you do need to get some coins prior to going to the bus, because they take, I think it's €3.30 to go into the city. And there's a number of those buses available as well, and they're all just, the first buses you see are the air coach when you come out, and the next ones are the Dublin bus. Okay, so you can go on those as well. And you'll see loads of people travelling on them.
I would say if you're at all nervous, Neha, I would connect to other students. You can connect to other students and see if other students are arriving at the same time as you. There's a lot of students going to be arriving in those same kind of dates. And then also, you know, if you did want to get a taxi, you could do that either. It's up to you. And there are ATMs in Dublin Airport as soon as you arrive, so you can get take out some euros as well to pay for whichever you're looking at. But again, the bus, you do have to have change. That's
the Dublin bus.
For the bus, yeah.
I would say if you're anyway nervous, you know, it's not overly expensive to get a taxi. It'll take you straight to the door. But as Lorraine mentioned, you know, it's a good idea to reach out anyway and try and contact some other students before you arrive. So if you haven't already done so, have a look at the Facebook group. It's UCD International Students 2017-2018. Join the group and you can start chatting from there, and you never know, potentially people are coming in the same flight or in around the same time as you, and you can link up.
Yeah, and then just another question from Neha. Can the on-campus fees be paid in cash?
No, then you can't pay anything in cash, basically. You have to transfer. Usually the best way is transferring it through your bank or pay to study. If it's tuition fees you're talking about.
And I think Sarah already said this earlier, but really don't bring huge amounts of cash. It's not very safe to be carrying around lots of cash.
Absolutely. Again, another couple of questions about the UCD email and UCD Connect. You will get sent information on your UCD email account when you're registering. So just again, be a little bit patient. That usually happens in the next kind of 2 weeks or so. So by mid-August, you should be receiving information in relation to registration. If you go onto the UCD website and search for registration dates, it will give the dates when your program will open for registration. So all of the information is online. If you haven't had a chance to go through the website, it is there as well, but you will receive it by email. Again, if you think you've missed an email or aren't getting emails, just contact us. We're happy to check for you as well if there is any issues, but there shouldn't be any issues at all. They're automated emails that are sent out to everybody in relation to registration and getting access to your UCD Connect and your UCD email. There's a couple of questions around GNIB appointments, Carl. People are asking different dates. Is it too soon? Will they have all of the documentation that they need if they're booking appointments? We might just talk a little bit about what students need to do, or what type of students will have to register with Irish immigration when they arrive to Ireland, maybe.
Yeah. Okay, so well, any student who's a non-EEA student is obliged to register with the Burkey registration, it's called these days, if you're staying more than 90 days. So that applies even to students who are coming for one semester from North America, for example, and are maybe staying only until around the 22nd of December. You still have to register because you've gone over the 90 days.
Can students register from home now at the minute?
Students can make an appointment online, but they can't register from home because you have to go down to the Burkey office and you have to get your fingerprints done and you have to get your photograph taken, and then they give you a nice little card, and that card is your residence permit and it lasts for 12 months. If you're here for a 12-month period. If you're here for one semester, it usually lasts until the end of the time when you're leaving, so until the 22nd or 23rd of December, for example.
And there's a few students just asking as well, just in terms of appointments. At the minute, Catherine is saying, they're saying that there isn't any appointments available at the moment on the website. Is it just, do students just need to wait and then they'll make more available?
Yeah.
Is that, there's a process behind that?
There's a process in that they release appointments for 9 weeks, if you like, in advance. So they're into, what are we, August, September, they'd be into the early October at this stage. And as you can imagine, like, I mean, we're only one college, but there's an awful lot of colleges in Dublin. And they advised us to contact students and let them know they could start applying from, you know, even before they arrived over in Ireland, which a lot of students are doing. But obviously they're all booking up. So don't panic about that, because you're going to get 3 months stamp on your passport, and it'll be starting at the 4th or 5th of September maybe. So you have a good while in which to do it.
So if I was a student, Carol, and I went onto the website in, let's say, a month or so, and I got an appointment for mid-November, is that okay?
That's
there's no problem for me doing that. It's just that's when the appointments are available, and I shouldn't worry about it, but I'll be already here. And you know,
I mean, if you get what the thing about it is, I'd recommend that you factor into your day just going online. It doesn't take very long to do it, and just checking out if there are any appointments. And what they do is they release new appointments every morning at 10 o'clock, and it's on a rolling basis. So every day there's more new appointments being released. But also in the afternoons, if there are any cancellations of appointments, they release those usually from about 2:30 onwards up to about 5 o'clock. So I would say to people, though, if you go online and you see something for the end of August or the beginning of September and you've only arrived in, don't take such an early appointment. You're better off to get later in September and into October. And the last thing I'd say, if you do get an appointment that doesn't suit you, please cancel it. Because last year, apparently, it was the first year of this new system, and there was something like 10% of the appointments taken were actually people did not turn up for those appointments. And that means there's so many more people are left waiting then as a result, you know, so that's really, really important.
One student just says he has an appointment for the 6th of September. Would you think he'll have enough time to kind of...
It's a bit tight, but maybe you could check in with me after you arrive and we can have a look at your situation, because it depends in the circumstances. Like if you're a North American student who's here for one semester, you don't have to open a bank account in Ireland necessarily. And if you have evidence from your bank at home that you have enough money to fund yourself here, well, you could go in on the 6th because you will have already registered by that stage. But if you're somebody who's waiting, who needs to have their bank account, who needs to have €3,000 on their bank account here, you might have to wait a bit longer. So it's a specific question. Don't cancel your appointment, just come in and you can talk to me about it.
Girish is asking, do we need to show €3,000 in an Irish bank account for getting the GNIB Burkey registration?
Girish, now I'm wondering where you're coming from, because it actually depends as well. If you're a visa required student and you've already shown that you had access to that money because you had to show that you have at least 7,000 in your account for living expenses, they're not expecting that you would show the 3,000 in your bank account. Some of the officials will still expect to see that you've opened a bank account and that you bring along that evidence, but they won't necessarily be looking for 3,000. Mm-hmm. However, if you're from North America and you're coming to do a full degree, and you will have to show the 3,000 because you haven't had to show any prior evidence that you had enough money to support yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, perfect. Just to switch back a little bit to accommodation, well, kind of Ting has asked, will there be any kitchen tools packages sold on campus? So I presume this is plates and cutlery, bowls, and
there's
things.
Nowhere on campus that sells those. I do know that sometimes, again, I'm going back to the social media, sometimes people who are leaving will want to sell on their things, so keep an eye on the various social media pages associated with UCD students. And also, as I mentioned, there will be shopping tours during the first week where some of our global guides and volunteer students will be bringing groups of students into the city centre and around the local shops here and out to IKEA. So you will have a chance to get everything that you need. If you're staying on campus, for the first night that you're there, you may want to bring a sheet, a duvet cover, and a pillowcase. Your duvet and your pillow will be provided, but there won't be any sheets or covers. So just bring enough just to get you through the first night, first week, and then you'll be able to, pick up everything that you need after that. If you're staying off campus, again, usually a landlord would provide those things, but it's bedding and things like that, the personal things that you will need to bring, maybe just for your first night or two, to have your comfort and a good night's sleep.
Yeah, no, that's it, perfect. Student Obi Fan Kenobi, I don't know if that's your real name. If it is, it's
very cool, excited to meet you.
I don't know if that's the real, but good name. Maybe it is. Ashley, maybe you could answer this. What is the deadline for arriving in Ireland? So I guess it's on your offer letter when you need to be here.
Yes, you need to look at your offer letter and you need to see when your course starts and make sure that you're here in time for your course and your class is starting. But really, like we were talking about earlier, orientation is really important. So we'd like for you to come and do your orientation week so that by the time your classes start, you know where you're going and you know what you're doing and you're not getting lost.
And if anyone thinks they might be late or there's a problem or they miss a flight or they're very worried, what should they do if there's any kind of doubt over that they might be a little bit late?
Well, they need to get in touch with us and let us know straight away, and we can let the schools know. Some courses are really, really strict, and because their classes, they start doing really important stuff on the first day. They're not happy for students to come late. If it's a special circumstance, we can put it forward to the school and ask for, an extension. But really important to let us know as soon as possible if you think you are going to be late. It's rare
that students do arrive late. Most students are always on time and they know they have to be here and they want to be here for orientation. But that's, just if, in case there is any problems, let us know as soon as.
And especially for Smurfit, because some of the Smurfit courses are starting a bit early. Mm-hmm. And their orientation is at the end of August.
31st, I believe.
So yes, right, yeah.
Some majority of programs are quite strict about this, and it can be quite serious if you're not going to be here on time. But as I said, majority of students, there's no issues and everyone is here on time. Cheyenne is asking, when will the course timetable be uploaded on SysWeb? And if yes, when? So Ashley, the answer is yes, again, it will be on your timetable. If that's where you get it.
We were talking about registration earlier, and that's going to be opening up over the next couple of weeks. As you register for your different modules, then your timetable is being built online. So hopefully, over the next couple of weeks, you'll have chosen all your modules, you'll have registered, and so you'll know exactly what your timetable is going to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Absolutely, yeah. And then one more question from Cheyenne is, again, we touched on this earlier, but just to say it again, is there any course-specific orientation or is it a generic one?
Yeah, so some of the schools will do like school orientations, but the orientation that we've been talking about mostly is the international orientation, and that's where you'll learn your way around the campus and find out where you're going. But some of the schools will email you directly if they have their own school orientation for you to take.
Yeah, absolutely. Melissa has a question. How do we register for a multi-entry visa?
Okay, well, you have to start by getting your residence permit, and then you go online to get your multi-entry. You have to make the appointment online. Now, you have two options with regard to a multi-entry. One is that you make an appointment and you go back down to the same offices, just a different selection of counters, if you like. Or you can do a postal registration. You can actually put in all your documentation, including your passport, etc., into a registered envelope at the post office and send it in. Some people are nervous about doing that, but actually our postal system is quite safe, and you usually get your documentation and your multi-entry back within 10 days. So those are the two options, but you do have to make the appointment.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Maybe could we talk a little bit about as well, Carol, if students want to travel to other European countries or go to the UK when they're here, a lot of the time students will take opportunities to do a bit of travelling, or maybe for if they're going to conferences or opportunities like that. Maybe you can talk a bit about that too.
Okay, so just the process is, first of all, you come into the country, then you go and you get your residence permit in Ireland. Then if you're a visa required student, you get your multi-entry, because that'll allow you to travel in and out for a year, whereas a single entry will only allow it for once, okay? So multi-entry is better. Then so you're a visa required student. You have to get what's called a Schengen visa. Most of the countries in Europe come under the Schengen banner, but Ireland doesn't and the UK doesn't. So it's important, if you're going over to France or Italy or that you get a Schengen visa. If you want to go to England, to London, you need a UK visa. And most importantly, if you want to go to Northern Ireland, Ireland consists of 32 counties, 6 of which are part of the United Kingdom and are not in the Republic of Ireland. So if anyone asks you to go on a trip up to Belfast, don't go unless you have an entry visa, multi-entry visa for Ireland, and an entry visa for the UK.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Just another kind of couple of questions around registration of bits and pieces. Nadira is asking, are term dates out yet for the individual courses? So actually, yes, but you might be kind of more interested in. We don't have the
exam dates. No.
Yeah.
And they're planned, even the semester dates, like for the next 2 or 3 years, are up online, so you can look at those. But the semester 1 exams will take place at the end of semester 1, and the semester 2 exams will take place at the end of semester 2. But those dates are provisional at the moment.
Mm-hmm. Well, they're not. Yeah.
They're not confirmed.
You really have to go by the and at this stage you won't get any information about when especially for any of you wanting to go home for Christmas. I'm not sure. I think it's probably the 22nd or 23rd this year is the last.
It's the 23rd is the last potential day for exams.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean you will have exams on that day, but it means that we don't know at this point. So
don't book a round ticket for that day unless there's a bit of flexibility.
Yeah, not just yet.
And then another question from Nadira asking, do we register for our modules via SysWeb?
Yes.
Yes, depending on your course. If you're an exchange student, study abroad student, or Erasmus student, there will be slightly different methods. The study abroad students are registered by their coordinators, and the exchange and the Erasmus students come here to the international office, where our exchanges Erasmus team will register you individually to your chosen courses.
These could be students just here for one semester or on exchange for one.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's important just when you will receive all this information via email. So it's just important to take note of all the information, and you'll be prepared that you'll know exactly where you need to be and what you need to do.
Could I just go back for a minute, because that's just reminded me of something. I had a query the other day in relation to people registering for immigration. And when you go into the system, you get an option, first of all, for study, and then you get a number of different options. And this student was coming into a full degree program, but they wondered, should they click the option visiting student? And they shouldn't. So just to explain to you, if you're doing an undergraduate degree, you go and say degree, If you're doing a master's, PhD, a PhD, they all stand out. And then if you're coming just for one semester, or you're coming as you're already in the university abroad and you're coming just for the year, you can do visiting student then. But because you're from another country does not mean that you just take the visiting student one, okay?
I think the way to differentiate really is if your degree will be awarded eventually by UCD,
yeah.
then your degree, master's or PhD. But
yeah.
if your degree is awarded by your home university, then you're visiting student.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
A question about the kitchen in on-campus accommodation. Anjali is asking about the electric plate hob in Belgrove. So the cooker, can it be used for all types of utensils? So I presume this means pots and pans and whatnot.
Pots and pans?
Yes, as long as they're metal, I would.
Yeah, so
not
I'm
plastic.
Sure, yeah. The specifics of what else you might put onto a hob, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But pots and pans, certainly. And Anjali, is it?
Yeah.
Anjali, if there's any specific thing that you query about, pop it over to me at international@ucd.ie. And if I don't know, I'll certainly find out for you. No problem.
Yeah. And maybe even just in terms of what to pack and what not to pack, we might talk about that, because I'm just wondering, are you asking this question because you don't really know you might be planning on bringing different utensils and pots and pans, because it might not be necessary to carry all of that with you in your luggage.
Yeah.
But we might just talk about what you should bring and what you don't need to bring.
With regards to pots and pans and things, I personally would recommend perhaps treat yourself to a takeaway on the first night, maybe, you know, and just have a chat with your housemates when you arrive. Perhaps you can all chip in and just get 1 or 2 sets between you. Maybe you're not going to need, you know, 4 or 5 of everything. Just have a chat with your housemates first and just see what way you want to organize the kitchen. You know, you also might want to talk about things like, will there be a roster for cleaning? You know, different things like that. Are you going to have individual presses? Does everybody chip in to buy the milk, or to buy everything separately? Those kind of things. So I wouldn't really recommend weighing down your luggage with the likes of pots and pans, because potentially then you could have maybe too much in the apartment. Again, absolutely same thing applies to living off campus. I think off campus, you're more likely to have the landlord supply a lot of those things. But it's important to check that out when you speak to the landlord first, and when you sign your lease, and just find out what exactly is available there for you to use, and you know how many people it's shared between, things like that. But yeah, I would have a chat with your housemates first of all, and see what way you want to organize yourselves.
Yeah. What tips would we give people for packing in their luggage? What should they bring with them, maybe in their hand luggage, and then what should they pack in their suitcase, or how much should they bring with them? What do they need to bring? You know, spices from home, if you like spices. Do you need to bring, you know, heavy warm clothes? What would you say? What tips would you
well, I'd say for the hand luggage, first of all, if maybe, you know, bring a small change of clothes just in case your bigger luggage goes astray. Now that doesn't happen very often, but I think that's a good idea. Obviously you have to bring your documents for wherever you're going. That's really important. I mean, they're the main things, I think, really.
Chargers and things like
chargers,
that.
And
adapters, plug adapters as well for Ireland.
To just check out our electricity and what might be required.
Adapters are available to buy in the airport, and also in the Centra shop on campus as well. So don't worry too much
if
you've forgotten something. You know, it can always be.
Again, it depends on where you're coming from now in relation to clothing, and that some people are coming from cold countries. We always have a tendency to think everyone is coming from a warm country, but they always say in relation to Irish weather that you should dress in layers, and so that means, you know, a t-shirt, maybe you know, track suits, whatever, if you're relaxing stuff, especially when you're coming over on the plane, but also a good jacket. Now, if they don't sell very heavy jackets where you come from, you can buy them over here, but you will need to sort of layer up during the time, because September could be lovely, but it gets colder, and it also rains over here a good bit. So you need to layer up good pair of shoes, and a good
great
jacket.
point.
Those are the main things then, and layers underneath, I suppose, really, you know.
And we can tell you where to go shopping as well. There's certain shops and
there's
shopping
plenty of
streets
shops
where
and
we can buy this type of clothing, and it's not as expensive maybe as your home country. So I would definitely say don't overpack.
No.
You don't need to bring any types of food with you. We have all of the same types of food as your home country, no matter what country you're coming from. We have specialist shops where you can buy any nice spices or any nice ingredients. Our supermarkets are huge and are very, very well stocked. So all of the same fruits and vegetables, and if you're vegetarian or non-vegetarian, if you're vegan, it's all catered for, and the same on campus as well. All of the restaurants will cater for students with any dietary requirements. So that's something you don't need to worry about either. A couple of questions coming in about part-time jobs. Are there any part-time jobs on campus? And then also, what do we need to do to get a part-time job? Students asking about PPS numbers, so maybe we'll explain what a PPS number is and how you go about getting a part-time job if you want to work part-time.
Well, I suppose the first thing I'd say is that you can't be guaranteed that you will get a part-time job, so you wouldn't really want to be relying on definitely getting it in order to pay for your time over here. It could supplement your income if you do get one, so that you can have little treats, etc. But it's not necessarily going to be enough. There are some part-time jobs on campus, but not a lot. There's, I suppose, really sometimes in the students' union shops they'll take people. But as you can imagine, there's an awful lot of people on campus as well who are all looking for these jobs, you know. Some of the students work as student ambassadors, but again, it's usually when a person is here in second or third year, they do that because they get to know the campus. These ambassadors show people around the campus. It's the same with our global lounge. We have global guides, but again, they're people who have a bit of experience already. So if you're just here for a year, the chances there wouldn't be a lot of jobs. Maybe some tutoring jobs, depending on what level you're at as well.
Usually I would advise students to not really work part-time, because you're going to be busy with your studies, and you're going to you're actually going to be in the library even when you're not in class. You're going to have a busy time, and you don't want to be worried about part-time jobs. And you know, if you're taking time out of classes, that's not advised at all. So if you can kind of avoid having part-time jobs, that's the best, I would say. But lots of students do work part-time, and they're able to juggle everything, and that's fine. But it just, I wouldn't, as Carl said, don't rely on it for extra income, because it can be competitive.
And the thing is, as well, as you're registering and you're getting your timetable and you're seeing, you know, how many hours you have in lectures and tutorials, there's like a lot of independent learning that happens at university. So as Lorraine said, there's a lot of coursework, group work, reading and writing that needs to be done that takes a lot more hours of your day than you might think for.
Yeah, absolutely. A couple of questions coming in about basically commuting and the different transport options. So student is asking how do I get a LEAP card? We'll explain what a LEAP card is. Another student, Zarina, is asking about, are UCD students entitled for a discount on the DART? We'll explain what the DART is as well, and what is the discount. So I don't know, Ashley, do you want to talk a little bit what a LEAP card is and what you do, why you have LEAP card?
Yes, you'll get your LEAP card when you get to Dublin, when you get to university.
You can buy it in shops.
Yeah, it's a green card, and you preload it with money, and then you use it to tap on the bus and on the Lewis and on the DART. And so it's a commuter's card, and it's a way for you get a cheaper fare than if you were just paying cash.
So there's a student discount once you have your student card, which is your U card.
And you can buy them on campus at the student centre. But you need to have.
So it is a reduced discount for students on students' U card.
And the other thing to say is that UCD is pretty well connected by bus. So that there's the main bus that goes outside the door is called the 46A, and that goes really regularly into the city centre and outwards from there. So and the DART isn't too far away either.
The DART is the train.
Yes.
I might just mention at this point the student handbook, which is online. You'll find it on the website, and you'll also find it on Facebook and on Twitter. There are links to it. And it's worth having a look at now before you arrive, even though a lot of the information is what you need after you get here. But it has all the information that you need about how to buy a LEAP card, transportation, all that kind of thing, as well as registration, as well as immigration, as well as living in Dublin as well as working in Dublin, all those kind of questions that that we're having a chat about now, but you will actually find a lot of the information that you're looking for in here. So it's well worth downloading. You'll find a PDF version online, as I said, and when you get here, every student will receive a hard copy as well.
Yeah, it's really worth your time reading that, because a lot of your questions can be answered from the handbook, and as Sarah said, you'll get it when you arrive as well. That will be one of the pieces of information that will be given to all students. A question about SIM cards. So Sohaib is asking, what documents would we need to buy an Irish SIM, and can we get it at the airport?
I don't know if you can get it at the airport necessarily. There will be a phone company on campus during orientation for a couple of hours each day, so you can actually come along at those times. I'm not sure if I have the times exactly here, but
It might not be set.
yeah, I don't know if the times are set, but every day during orientation there will be a phone company on campus here at the UCD Global Lounge, and you'll be able to get your free SIM card then. And usually there are a number of different phone companies as well, and you know, if you miss orientation or if you miss them here in a particular day, you can always buy a SIM card in town. I don't know if you need any specific document to buy a SIM card. They're pay as you go, so usually it's about €20 to top up. That will last you for the month generally, and there are different options and there are different plans, but that would be kind of a general or a basic one. And your €20 a month then will get you texts and calls, usually within Ireland, and also a certain amount of data. All the buildings on campus are Wi-Fi enabled, so you won't have to use your data once you're on campus. And you can also, in certain supermarkets and different shops, you can buy an international calling card as well, so you can make cheap calls for like 1 cent a minute, something like that.
Yeah.
So
again, as you
that's a
said,
good
there
way to
will
make
be a
your-
company here on campus.
Yeah,
with
absolutely.
SIM cards,
So
and they will unlock your phone and do all of.
they'll
those
help you
things,
get
yeah.
set up. Absolutely, 100%. Yeah, for sure.
Perfect. Yeah. Angeli is asking, can you please explain how the credit-based system works? Maybe Aisling, it depends on your program, I guess. It depends on your credits, but just maybe to say,
It'll become
in
clear to you,
general, what a credit is and what it's kind of, yeah.
So credit is associated with the modules. So you have some modules that are 5 credits, you have some that are 10, some that are 15, and the amount of credits kind of indicates how much work. So like, you know, a big project might be 15, where it's just a module for 1 semester, which is like 1 set of classes might be 5 credits. For each stage of your course, you're required to do a certain amount of credits before you can move on to the next stage. So I think it's 90 credits per stage, is it?
60 for the undergrad, and 90, for masters, yeah.
So when you're registering for your first semester, you're registering for 60 credits, and then you'll be required to pass those successfully before you can go on to semester 2. Sometimes you can carry some credits forward, but that's a more specific conversation for your school and your course.
Again, it'll all be detailed in emails. You'll see when you receive the emails about choosing subjects or modules, as we call them, and then the credits that are associated with them, and building up the number of credits to kind of pass through the year. A question about driving in Ireland. Can we drive with an international driver's or a local driver's license, I guess, to get an international, to rent a car in Dublin? Would you say it's safe to drive in Dublin?
Yeah, it is safe if you're safe, I suppose. Yeah, you can drive. I'm not sure. I think you can drive for a year. Isn't that it on your international?
I believe
You have to get an international driver's license.
Yeah. And you can rent a car, and apparently it's cheaper to rent a car at the airport than it is to rent one in town.
You need to be, if I'm not mistaken, over
21.
And I think you also need a
25.
Usually you also need a credit card as well. So you need to be a certain age, you need to have a credit card. And if you're thinking of like driving here, one of the things to be aware of is if you're getting a car, it might be expensive, and also car insurance.
Car insurance can be a bit of a problem.
You cannot drive without insurance.
No.
It might be
except if you're driving the rental car, you can have that for a while.
Yeah.
The other thing to mention is if you're thinking of renting a car because you want to see the rest of Ireland, right? That there are a lot of buses and trains that you can get that go to all the corners of Ireland, so you can use public transport to get around. You don't have to necessarily drive. It's very easy to travel around Ireland in a very, very quick kind of way. We don't have a very big country, so it doesn't take long to get from one end of the country to the other end of the country. So
and
maybe
as a rule, you wouldn't bother bringing a car into the centre of Dublin anyway. It's much handier to go on a bus or a Dart or a Lewis, whatever is available, you know. Because the traffic gets very clogged up.
Yeah, we talked about cycling earlier, but there's cycle lanes, you know, into the city centre, and like increasingly Dublin is becoming more cycle friendly, I think. So
I might just, as we're talking about that, it just occurred to me just to mention that it is really recommendable to leave Dublin and to get out and see a little bit of Ireland. As Lorraine mentioned, it's not a huge country and it's quite accessible. There are, you know, buses and trains, or if you want to drive, a lot of students tend to come here. And because we are, you know, a gateway to Europe as such, you know, it's very easy to get from Ireland to lots of different European countries. A lot of students tend to leave Dublin and go and visit different countries, which is great, and that's also a wonderful thing to do. But, you know, there is a lot more to Ireland than just Dublin, and it's great to get out and to see a little bit. We have some beautiful countryside and lots of music and festivals and good food and nice people. So yeah, I would say
I
I
think it's a
agree
really
with
good
me.
point.
Yeah.
and it's a really diverse country. I mean, you'll see the differences if you know travel to Galway or to Cork or Kerry. You know, you get to see the differences throughout Ireland.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Pippin has a question just around identification for international students. So Pippin is asking, does an Indian driver license or identity proofs work there? So basically, is it, if you're asked for identification, is it just your passport that will only be accepted? So there's only, I guess there's only certain instances where you'll be asked to show kind of proof of identity.
Yeah.
So maybe we might talk about that and what would be accepted. Passport is the most universal form of kind of identity.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's not a good idea to carry it around all the time, just in case it gets lost.
So you'll need your passport for opening your bank account. You have to show it then,
and you have to bring it down to immigration.
Yeah.
And you're doing
so need it then.
And if you wanted, as someone spoke earlier or asked about earlier about a PPS number, you can only apply for a PPS if you did definitely have a job lined up anyway. Or else if you were a student who was receiving a scholarship in UCD, you might be required, if the money was coming from the UCD account, you might be required to have a PPS number. Or if you were going to do a driving test, you'd need it as well, and you'd need your passport for that. But in general, it's probably not a good idea. I mean, you can always carry a copy of your passport around in your wallet. The police in Ireland don't generally stop people asking them for identification unless the person is involved in some incident, which I'm sure none of you would be involved in. But
the only other instance you could be asked for identification is if you're purchasing alcohol. That's the only other time you may be asked to prove that you're over 18.
You need to be over 18 to purchase alcohol in Ireland.
Yeah, so that's the only other. But outside of that, you won't need to carry your passport around with you.
And I'd also say, when you get your card from the Burkey registration unit, mind that card very carefully, because that's worth €300. And if anything happens to that card, you have to get a replacement. They'll be looking for another 300. They don't give you a replacement for €50 or anything like that. So I think that's a card that's to be guarded very carefully.
And perhaps a copy made when.
Very good. To always have a copy. As
in, you know, just a simple photocopy and put it somewhere safe, just in case it does get lost, so that you can track the number that's on it. The number that's on your card is specific to you. And
take a photo, have it on your phone or something.
Exactly.
As well.
And then just as we're talking about that, Cheyenne is asking, will the U-card serve as identity proof for a student? It will in certain cases, if you're looking for discounts in shops, or if you're buying, as we said, a LEAP card for travel. You can use your student card, the U card, but it won't have your date of birth on it or anything like that. So it's not going to work in other instances. It's only for maybe discounts that it's important, and for obviously just to have to get to the library and things like that, where you have to swipe in using your
and I
card.
think like linked to all of that is just is the issue of security, because Ireland is really a very safe country, and Dublin is generally very safe as well, but it is a capital city and you have to be aware of that. So one of the things that I know a few students have done in the past is they've gone into cafes or pubs and they've thrown their bag randomly over a bit away from them. That's not a good idea. You need to keep your wallet in particular, with all your cards and everything else there. You know, that's really important, and you need to keep that near you. There isn't a huge amount of, you know, we don't hear a lot about students having their bags stolen, not a huge amount, but it does happen. Sometimes people even leave them on the bus. So, you know, if you have a bag that has a strap that can go over your shoulder, keep it like that, even when you're sitting on the bus, so that you don't leave things on the bus, especially in the first few weeks, because everything is so new, you can be quite out of your comfort zone.
And if you're staying in a hotel or a hostel when you arrive, just keep your belongings
together.
Know where your especially your passport, your wallet are at all times. Don't kind of forget them, or don't leave them on a bed and go away off with your friends or anything like that. Just be mindful of your belongings. If anything happens, or if there's any problem, come straight to talk to us, come into the international office.
And you can go to your local Garda station as well.
But again, it's very rare that things would happen like that, but it's just to be aware that you must kind of keep track of your belongings, because it causes difficulties if you have to get a new passport or anything like that. It's just tricky to take time.
And be careful of your phone when you're walking along the streets, certain streets. Don't have the phone sort of waving it around the place, you know. Mind it, because remember, that's worth a good lot of money as well, so you don't want it to be grabbed out of your hand by somebody, you know. But again, it doesn't happen all that often, but things do happen sometimes.
Just to kind of switch up the questions, Joshua has asked a question. Are there any sporting matches in UCD, and if so, how do we look them up? So UCD is a very sporty university. Our teams play in some of the top leagues, and yes, you can go and see them. Sometimes we're visiting teams and visiting different events. I don't know if anyone wants to talk a little bit about.
We have the Women's World Cup coming up over the next couple of weeks in rugby. Sorry, so that's very exciting. We're all really looking forward to that. But I think Carol mentioned earlier, you know, there is every sport you can think of. There is a club for here, and there's great facilities. Your U card, actually, as you mentioned before, it gives you access to residences, it gives you access to the library, but it's also your access to the sports facilities if you're using the likes of the gym or the swimming pool, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I would say keep an eye on the website and also on the social media channels of the UCD Sports. Because they will update a lot there. And even in terms of, we have the National Hockey Stadium of Ireland is located in the university as well. So we have big campus with lots of space and lots of sporting fields and lots of different tennis courts. Lots of if you like any sport, we have it here. Basically, that's kind of the message, the key message. Then let me see. We'll actually just go down to another question. A student is asking: are international students entitled to get loans, education loans from AIB, for instance?
Not usually.
Yeah, I guess what we would say is please have enough funds to cover your costs before you arrive. Don't try and rely on getting loans or jobs, as we said earlier.
I'd say it would be almost impossible. And it would have to be really special circumstances. But in general, I would say no, you wouldn't be able to get a loan because you don't have domicile, if you like, in the country. You're just passing through, you know, for a few years.
Yeah, absolutely. A question around restaurants. Do we have restaurants on campus that serve all cuisines?
Yeah, we do. So upstairs in this building is where the main restaurant is. So we're in the Jared Manley Hopkins building now. You'll come find us when you arrive. And upstairs they like several wide variety of food throughout the day. So there's salads, there's cooked food, and so you can come and have your dinner here. But then also each of the buildings has either a coffee shop or sandwiches. And yeah, across the campus there's a wide variety of food.
Yeah, absolutely. We have a supermarket on campus as well. one of the apartment complexes, which is Roebuck Castle, is actually catered. So if you're staying there, your meals are included and you can eat there. But yeah, there's a wide variety. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner are served on campus every single day.
But that doesn't mean to say that you might not want to cook a little bit when you're here, especially in your residences. You might want to bring some recipes from home, or get your parents now to teach you, a few of your favorite dishes, so that you can be a little bit self-sufficient as well.
And there's the what are they called? Irish kitchens that come in every Thursday.
Oh yeah.
The food market.
Food market.
Yeah, Irish Village Food Market, I think it is. Yeah.
Comes in every Thursday, and also just outside the campus is a big campus, and part of it is the area is called Clonskee, and there's the Clonskee Mosque with a restaurant attached to that, and the shop where they're selling halal meat, and the restaurant is very nice as well. Nice food up there too, so that's another option nearby as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Ireland embraces all cuisines. We like all types of food from all over the world. So if you like Chinese food, if you like Indian food, if you like Italian food, if you like US style food, we have all of junk food. I mean, if there's anything that you have a preference for, we have it in Ireland. It's very much Irish people love to try new foods, and we have lots of really nice restaurants in Dublin city centre as well that you'll be able to try it. A question about laptops. So a student is asking, is it mandatory to bring my own laptop to university to succeed in assessments? It depends on your program.
Yeah, and one thing to say is the library does have laptops that they can, loan out to students if you really don't have a laptop and you need it to do some sort of assignment or coursework. But generally, most students
would have a laptop, and it's probably, if you have one, I would say personally bring it. We actually have we've a very good IT services department here, just across the way from us here in Davis. So if you have any problems with any of your software, when you get here, they'll be able to help you. If your laptop breaks or you have any issue with it, they're there to help you as well. So I think that most students would have their own laptops. If you don't, it's not the end of the world. They are available. So,
and I think there might be some courses where it's more of a requirement, and that can be made known to you through your emails as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Just a question about what to bring again. What are some of the occasions where we would have to be in formal wear? This is just to understand if we need to carry a lot of formal wear with us, and that's
well, we're actually quite informal. But again, it does depend to a certain extent on the course that you're doing. In Smurfit now, in the business school, they expect on occasions that the students will be more formally dressed.
For presentations?
Yeah, anything like that. There would be, if there's companies coming in on campus, for example, they would, students would sort of attend some of the presentations with the guys maybe wearing a suit or a dress jacket. And
also, if you were going for interviews, if you're planning on staying, you would have formal wear.
But in general, otherwise, like of course, if you're graduating, well, you have to get really dressed up for that. But other than that, we're fairly informal. We find now as Sarah already mentioned, we're going to have a big reception for the students about 2 weeks into the semester, and some students will come along in jeans, and that's fine. And others, particularly if you come from a country where you have so beautiful clothes, for example, Malaysia as one example. Of course you can wear those, and you're bound to get your photograph taken if that's the case.
We love to see that, actually.
We like to see people dressing up for that. Yeah, it's really
some
nice.
Of the Indian students that I would be in contact with will wear their saris as well. There will be opportunities to wear those type of kind of formal wear as well, because we will celebrate a lot of the national days. We do have Chinese New Year, we have Thanksgiving, we have India Republic Day, Diwali. So we do celebrate all of the kind of the big national days that you would celebrate at home as well. And it's nice to wear some of your formal wear or traditional formal wear if you want to. You don't have to.
Absolutely, you don't
want to carry it. You don't have to carry it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
A question around careers fairs, which is actually a very good question. Are there any careers fairs in UCD? Ashley, maybe you talk a little bit about the Career Development Centre and what they do and how they support students as well.
Yeah, the Career Development Centre is a really important part of the campus, and during orientation you will find out where they're based and you can go and visit them and find out what resources they have. You can make appointments with them so they can go through your CV and do your interview preparation. But one of the big things that they would organise are the career fairs, where we have a lot of big name companies come onto campus, and that's a good opportunity for you to meet with people from these companies, find out about different types of jobs and also what you would need to apply for these jobs.
So yeah, I think it's very useful for students as well to make use of the facility they have for helping people with their CVs, because the way you might have laid it out, it varies according to country, and it's useful to see what's the one that kind of works, if you like, in an Irish context if you are applying for jobs later on as well, and also interview skills, which I think is another useful one.
One thing that you see around interview skills, and what I find a lot of students, it's useful to know for students that they should practice for interviews. That's a really, that's just as important as kind of, studying for an exam. It's practicing for an interview if you do have an interview when you're here. Again, any of these kind of big careers fairs will be advertised around the university. You'll see posters, you'll get emails from your program and from the colleges and schools as well. So I would say definitely do keep an eye on your UCD Connect email once you get access to it. When you're here on campus. These career fairs start from the very beginning of the year, from September, October. Some of the companies will have closing dates before the end of December for their graduate program. So it is very, very important that you're very proactive if you are serious and do want to stay and work in Ireland, that you do attend these fairs and prepare for them. Do some research on the companies before you go and meet them as well. Don't just go in and lift brochures and walk away. Talk to the representatives and ask for a business card, and maybe don't email them all the time about it, but just make a connection with the person if they are here, or if you have any guest lecturers in your classes from companies as well. Sometimes that will happen in different programs. Everything is a networking opportunity. Everything is an opportunity to speak to these people, these representatives, if they are here on campus, and that's why they're here. They want to meet the students. They're looking to recruit UCD students. So it is up to you. Nothing is ever guaranteed. No jobs are guaranteed. You're coming here for education, but we will do everything we can to connect you with the companies once you're here on campus. There are a couple of questions then actually around, just when we're talking about careers, the graduate stay back visa. Carl, can you talk about if students want to stay in Ireland after they finish the program, how do they do that? How long can they stay for, and what's the process around it?
Okay. I know this is something that attracts a lot of people to come to Ireland, especially students going into the master's degree. And a master's degree is considered to be a level 9 degree. They've changed the rules just recently in relation to this. Formerly, a student, once they got their examination results, and these issue usually in October each year, they would go down and apply for a third level graduate scheme, as it was called, and they would get it for 12 months. And at the end, during that 12 months, you could basically work at whatever you wanted to work at. And at the end of it, it would be hoped that for some of you at least, you would go on with your employer and apply for a work permit and stay on in Ireland for a few years if you wanted to. What they did this year is they've extended it to 24 months for the level 9 students. But it's not 24 months altogether. This is the thing. You get your 1 year, and at the end of the 1 year, you go back and you must, at that stage, prove, if you like, to the immigration officials that you have obtained or have been looking for a job at the educational level that you're at. Now, it's actually quite a bit vague at this stage as to exactly what they're going to be looking for. And I think that'll only become more apparent as the first lot of students go through with that second 12 months. So, if you're doing an undergraduate degree and you're hoping to go and work afterwards, that's level 8, and you would be still entitled to work for 1 year, but not for 2 years. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, perfect. Just to explain that, because we haven't really touched on that, but yeah, so that it's available for all students if they wish to stay. And
well,
again,
all students who get a degree in
yes,
Ireland.
well, you pass your exams.
Yeah.
That's very important to get that, or else you can't stay.
Yeah.
But again, we'll have all of this information here in September during orientation week as well. You don't have to remember all of this right away. A question from Melissa, just saying she's arriving on 4th of September at midnight. Will the UCD welcome you at the airport at that time?
No, not at midnight. No.
So we would probably
taxi
up until about 8 p.m. I believe. So at that time of evening, I would probably recommend getting into a taxi and getting where you need to be. You're going to be tired. You just want to find your way and find your bed and get there safely. So I would recommend a taxi at that time, Melissa.
Yeah, perfect. Question from Sariti asking, is it compulsory to open a bank account in Ireland?
It depends what you're coming into. We don't know what course you're doing. If you're here for 1 semester, it's not. If you're here for more than 1 semester, it is.
Yes.
Okay.
That's very clear.
Yeah, absolutely.
One more question, just in terms of immigration. Student is asking to clarify: do we need to show the immigration or medical insurance if we're from countries that don't need visas to enter Ireland?
Absolutely.
So maybe we'll talk about the medical insurance a little bit.
Everybody who is every non-EA student must have medical health insurance. And it must be valid for the year, really, for the duration of your course. Because, for example, don't come over with medical insurance that's only up as far as December if you're staying until September. Because they'll actually only give you a GNIB or a bar key registration card up to the end of December, if that was the case. If you get insurance, and I'd say this now to some of the North American students who might be listening, it's important to have evidence that you're covered, not just an ordinary card like an ATM card with no information on it as to what you're covered for, okay? Because they want to see, basically they want to see that you are covered for €25,000 for a hospital stay. That doesn't mean that you have to spend €25,000. In fact, you can spend around 120. But you have to be able to say that you're covered so that when you go into the hospital, that there's enough money to cover you there for the duration of your stay, or for most of the duration anyway, So again, if you're coming from, say, India, for example, you need to have your document needs to be clear and it needs to be translated so that they can see that you're covered for the amount required. After first year, if you're staying for a degree of a few years, the immigration authorities expect you to get insurance in Ireland for the other years, okay? And you'll find again in our handbook details of the different types of insurance that are available.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. Just maybe there's kind of just a couple of last questions, but they're all around off-campus accommodation. We might talk about some tips on searching for off-campus accommodation, what students should do now when they're in their home country, to kind of prepare if they're planning on living off campus, and where they can check maybe for off-campus accommodation, how they can connect with other students to maybe look together, and then maybe areas where if they wish to look around UCD, or if they want to kind of commute, talk about the kind of transport options as well for students. A lot of students will commute to the university, so maybe we might just kind of do a little a bit of a chat around that, just to kind of end the session.
Yeah, I suppose the first thing I mentioned is that our team here have been working on a little document about off-campus accommodation, which will be circulated, I think, over the coming week.
Yes, almost ready.
Yeah,
we'll send it out to
so
everyone.
keep an eye on your emails. It's very important to watch your emails at the moment, as we said, but just to reiterate that, to keep an eye on your emails. A few things, I suppose, around off-campus accommodation. Personally, I would recommend students. There's lots of websites and things like that to have a look at. I recommend getting in contact with other students who are in the same position as you, first of all, through our social media platforms. The UCD Students' Union also have a great accommodation Facebook page, and they've also just employed a brand new accommodation advisor. Okay, so if you get here, the accommodation advisor there not only can give you advice on finding accommodation, can also give you some legal advice. So if you're having any problems, any issues, any concerns over a lease agreement, go down there and have a chat with them once you get here. If you don't have accommodation organised prior to starting your course, if you can at all, I would recommend trying to get here a week or a couple of weeks early and putting some time. It can take a little bit of time. Accommodation is much sought after in Dublin, so quite often if rooms are advertised, if houses are advertised, if apartments are advertised, there will be other people looking at those apartments and houses as well. So it's important to give yourself some time.
Students should have a hotel or a hostel booked.
Yeah, absolutely.
So when they arrive,
Great
they
point,
can stay in a hotel or hostel, and then they can search from.
Yeah, make sure you've sorted yourself out at least for the first few nights until you found your feet. Also, like something to remember is that Dublin, it's not a huge city, and it's very accessible by our transport links. We have trams, we have trains, we have the buses, we have, obviously, Ashley mentioned, cycling has become really popular now as well. So, think a little bit outside the box maybe when you're looking for accommodation. Have a look on our website, in our handbook, and familiarise yourself maybe a little bit with places that are accessible, that UCD is accessible by the transport links. You might find somewhere cheaper, you might find it easier to find a place, you might have to, travel for 20 minutes or even up to half an hour. But we're used to commuting. People who live in cities, everybody's used to commuting from getting from A to B, and it's important not to focus your search just in the immediate UCD area. Stretch out a little bit and just see what's out there, because you never know what you might find.
But you know what, I'd say the most important thing is if you're looking, you're still at home, don't pay anything to anyone over the internet for a room before you've been to
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that's really, really important.
You want to make sure you're happy with it, and you go and view the accommodation, if it's a house or an apartment or a room, and that you're happy with where it is, and you're happy that it's the same as the pictures that it's advertised. So that's why it's best to wait till you're here to go and view the accommodation.
And an authentic and dependable landlord won't expect you to do that straight away anyway. Okay, so if somebody is asking you to transfer money online, alarm bells should ring really automatically. Like Lorraine said, it's important to get down there and make sure that you view the place, that you're happy with the place, and also make sure that you sign a lease or a rent agreement, and that you're happy with what you're signing, that you're happy for to sign for the period of the stay as well. If you're staying for one semester only, don't sign a lease for a full year, because you could be liable to pay money then at the time that you're leaving. You might lose your deposit, different things like that.
Maybe as well, talk a little bit about host families. Some students, a lot of students actually like to stay with host families. And, maybe that we could talk a little bit about that as another option.
Yeah, absolutely. Students sometimes are reluctant to stay with host families, but quite often nowadays host families, it's a comfortable and affordable way to live. What else would we say about
But it's also a nice way to learn a bit about Irish culture. Because you're staying with an Irish family and you're seeing how their day-to-day life is. If you get lucky, you might be able to have really good food.
We have what's called the UCD accommodation pad, which is managed through UCD residences. So if you want to sign up for the accommodation pad is basically a forum, a message board where landlords advertise rooms. Quite often they're homestays, but sometimes they're self-catered apartments, that kind of thing as well, or rooms in houses that the landlord would be renting out. And so that's a forum whereby you can contact the landlord directly, and it's managed through UCD residences. If you want to sign up for that, email room booking support, all one word, at ucd.ie, and if you haven't already got your UCD Connect email address, they will set you up with a temporary login so that you're able to get online and see all the information that's there prior to arriving as well.
Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, there are some very good tips there. I'm conscious that we've come to the end of our session. I want to thank you all for your questions. It's been great to connect with students again in advance of everyone arriving in September. I want to thank my panel very much for answering all of your questions too today. A final just kind of tip is, again, please do read every email that you receive from the university. Everything is important, and every email is important that we're sending to you. You will be receiving emails around registration, orientation, around your programs, all of the different bits of information before you arrive in Ireland. Do keep an eye on our website, so ucd.ie/international. All of the information that we've spoken about today is available there. Join our Facebook group. So we have the UCD International Students 2017-2018. If anyone hasn't already connected there, that's a good place to connect with other students as well. If there's any questions at all that you have between now and arriving in September, please email us. You can email us at international@ucd.ie, and we just very much look forward to welcoming all of you in September. And again, thank you for your time today. Thank you.
Thank you.